Ladies and gentlemen, and
All
welcome
right,
to
wrestling
Kenmore
fans.
West.
Hold on a second here. We got some announcements.
Kenmore West faces Niagara Falls in a Niagara Frontier League. Starting
Niagara Frontier League
today's
match, that is.
competition at 132 pounds from Niagara Falls is Reggie McCreary. And from Kenmore, Junior Alwan.
All right, so yeah, it's our first live stream of the year, and it's the WNY Athletics crew: Frank Wolf, Francis Beck, myself, Matt O'Rourke, and Coach Joe Scapoletti, guest appearing here tonight. We're not going to stay. We're going to have the stream on the JV matches here. There's a bunch of JV matches to start, and we're going to be trying out some stuff tonight with the camera work, for things later on in the season that we do. So stay tuned. Might be pulling some couple things in. Maybe even take a live look at another match going on elsewhere in the section. We're going to try out some capabilities, but we're just going to get started here with a couple JV matches. A little bit late of a start, but that's okay. Plenty of wrestling to be had. Both of these teams weighed in, a bunch of wrestlers. Yeah, I guess just wanted to update real quick for anybody out there watching. You see, this is the very first JV match of the night, so we will get more into the wrestlers and into the action when the varsity portion begins. Should be 11. I believe there's going to be 11 individual bouts out of the 13. There's 2 forfeits tonight in the duel. We know that so far. But we just want to get out here and check out the first wrestling event of ours of the season. We're really trying to do every Wednesday is what we're trying to pull our crew in for. I believe next week, Francis, we're going to be in Newfane for a big Niagara Orleans league match, maybe one of the bigger ones in some time in the league. Newfane is returning, 8-time defending Niagara Orleans champ. We got Falls here tonight, who's a two-time defending Niagara Frontier League champion, and also they won that Super League thing that they did during the COVID spring season in 2021. So Francis, if you want to, I don't know if you want to cut off the mic here until we hop back in, but that's just an update for anybody out there watching for now. And let me add to Western New York Immediate Care is here for you this holiday season, open every day, no appointment needed. Take a look. Take a look at our screen to see their holiday hours. Visit their website for more information. Thank you to Western New York Immediate Care for supporting high school sports on Western New York Athletics. So, all right, Francis.
When it's time to sell your home, start with a visit to howardhanna.com, ranked the #1 real estate site for sellers. We can get you the most money in the quickest amount of time because we know where the local buyers are and how to reach them. Get started today at howardhanna.com.
Logistics Plus is a global transportation provider headquartered in Erie, PA with locations worldwide including right here in Western New York. Logistics Plus is consistently recognized as a fast-growing transportation and logistics company, great supply chain partner, top freight broker, leading project cargo manager, and a great place to work. With a strong passion for excellence, our 500-plus employees put the plus in logistics. Call our Buffalo office today for an efficient, personal approach for all of your transportation needs.
Avoiding care can lead to worse problems. Don't delay care. We're here for you. Western New York Immediate Care provides quick, quality care for non-emergent injuries and illnesses. Go to wnyImmediatecare.com for more information.
what's going on, everybody? The matches here, so thanks for hanging in at Kenmore West High School. Francis, our producer here with us tonight, was able to bring in the live feed from Chautauqua Lake, #1 small school in Western New York, Chautauqua Lake Wrestling Dunkirk at home in a CCAA Division I match. We'll get a look at Chautauqua Lake this weekend when they come to the legendary Niagara Community College Linda Canoodle Memorial Tournament. Chautauqua Lake's chock full of studs this year, #1 ranked small school around right now. I think they're top 2 in the state as well. New York Wrestling News has them at. So, yeah, like I said earlier, we're just testing some stuff. We're trying to bring in a couple matches where we can. Simultaneously, we got the last JV match coming up here. It's Chautauqua Lake. It looks like 215. I'm gonna guess that's Eisen Shirley, or maybe it's Gavin Segovia at 285. I'm not really sure. Obviously, it's a Facebook Live event that I just happened to roll across while we're getting ready for this match, and looks like there's a technical delay there. But either way, we're if you want to throw down a comment on how it looks at home watching it, then feel free to do so. But we're just kind of playing around here before the varsity match gets started. So we'll hop back on in a minute while you enjoy this last JV match and in Chautauqua Lake duel down in Mayville.
There's nothing better than owning the perfect house to come home to. You've earned it, and we'll make it happen. Our local real estate experts and in-house team of financial professionals make buying or selling your home simple. Howard Hanna. Home happens here.
I love being home.
When it's time to sell your home, start with a visit to howardhanna.com, ranked the #1 real estate site for sellers. A few clicks will show you the sales price you can expect for your home. We can get you the most money in the quickest amount of time because we know where the local buyers are and how to reach them. So if it's time to sell your home, visit howardhanna.com today, and we'll match you with a local Howard Hanna agent to sell your home fast.
I love being home.
If you've been injured in an auto accident, large or small, call 681-4088. RES Physical Medicine and Rehab right away. If you are in pain or just sore, don't take chances. Call RES today and take advantage of their 24 to 48-hour appointment pledge. With no copays, RES will help navigate the confusing world of no-fault insurance with you, so you can concentrate on getting better. 681-4088. RES Physical Medicine and Rehab. The most important call you can make after an auto accident.
Logistics Plus is a global transportation provider headquartered in Erie, PA with locations worldwide, including right here in Western New York. Logistics Plus is consistently recognized as a fast-growing transportation and logistics company, great supply chain partner, top freight broker, leading project cargo manager, and a great place to work. With a strong passion for excellence, our 500-plus employees put the plus in logistics. Call our Buffalo office today for an efficient, personal approach for all of your transportation needs.
Call 835-WOLF. Remember, you call on the Wolf. That's all you had to say. Call today.
Okay, so welcome into this Niagara Frontier League match in Week 3 of the season. We're live at Kenmore West High School. Give me 1 second here. Live at Kenmore West High School, we got Kenton Devil Dogs in the NFL, 0-1 in the NFL, and Niagara Falls Wolverines, number 3 in large schools in Western New York, a top 20 state-ranked team right now. We got Francis producing, Frank Wolf on cameras, and Coach Joe Scapoletti here, guest chiming in tonight. Coach, thank you for your time. I appreciate you coming out for this.
Pleasure. Great to be here.
I know these are a couple teams that you have history with back in your days of being the head coach at Lockport, the league chairman, and now the scheduler for the league and still involved in different capacities. So, yeah, I mean, we know Falls has been probably has some of the best wrestlers in Western New York right now. Extremely well coached. Kenmore, an up-and-coming team, 44 certified wrestlers this year with a Lockport alumnus as head coach, Dave Wilcox. What's your your professional, opinion, or what do you see in the future for Coach Wilcox and his gang here at Kenmore?
Well, I mean,
Schools.
I can tell you this. David's going to work his tail off. That's the biggest thing. He's a grinder. He's going to have these kids wrestling in the off season. He's going to work hard. I mean, just look at the numbers that he's got in terms of his certifications this year. That's his MO. He lives it. He loves the sport. He wants to succeed, and he'll do whatever it takes to do that.
Absolutely. Nice guy, good guy, was welcoming us here tonight. Challenges his team, has a good crew of assistant coaches, and you see here tonight how many supporters there are in the stands. It looks like a lot of classmates hanging out as well. You saw a lot of their kids getting up and supporting their JV teammates in those opening matches, which is important to see. So good things happening in Kenmore. And I was just about to dive into falls before Jaden Crumpler, senior at 126 pounds. Junior at 126 pounds for the Wolverines, and returning New York State finalists last year in large schools, our only returning finalist from a year ago. The Wolverines have been cooking out good teams, especially over the past couple of years. Obviously have one of the oldest traditions in Western New York and have just had some absolute hammers over the last few years. So a lot of those kids grew up wrestling at the Niagara Falls Wrestling Club and a lot of interaction with the Power Cats. And everybody involved in wrestling in and around the city of Niagara Falls especially has basically made that one of the epicenters, at least in the western part of the state of New York, for any wrestling. For a lot of wrestlers got their start out of there. So, I mean, what's your assessment of the state of wrestling in and around the city of the Niagara Falls, I guess?
Well, I mean, the track record speaks for itself. You know what I mean? And the Falls has had a very good team for as long as you can remember. Once these two schools combined, when the old Niagara Falls High School and LaSalle High School combined, we knew as members of the Niagara Frontier League that this high school was going to be a powerhouse for many, many years to come, and they certainly haven't disappointed. I mean, this program is one that is steeped in tradition, steeped in success, and definitely one of the teams everybody looks at every year to contend in Section 6 in the large schools, for sure.
Absolutely. We know one of our sectional co-chairmen, Mr. Izzy Martinez, had some powerful teams after the centralization of the school district. Just looking at that track record right there is impressive, going back 15, 20 years up until now, as well as the old school history with those schools that you mentioned that don't really no longer exist, but you can see some of the relics of those places at Niagara Falls Wrestling Club. And
I mean, Josh Egan wrestled at LaSalle High School for Izzy when he coached there. So I mean, that tradition lives on for sure.
Absolutely. I think Junior Reynolds here, Marfio Reynolds Jr. We'll talk about him, but I believe I saw him at the sectional tournament, I think, with an Old Falls High School or LaSalle singlet on. So it's pretty cool to see some of that tradition still around.
Yeah, the kids love to break out the old red and gray or the brown and gold singlets from LaSalle and Niagara Falls High School. And,
sure.
One of the things I'll say about the start here for the Falls is, tough draw when you draw 126 pounds in your first two draws if you're Kenmore or Crumpler and Reynolds. Not if you're the Falls, obviously you're going to probably get out to a quick start, and
sure.
It's a tough. Like I say, to draw 126 is not something that I'm sure Coach Wilcox was thrilled with when that happened.
Sure. Yeah, so let's dive into the wrestlers a little bit. We did see Jaden Crumpler out there for the Falls come out and get a pin at 126 pounds. We've got Junior, he goes by Junior, Marfio Reynolds, Junior Reynolds, wrestling Vinny Grisanti at 132 pounds. These are two guys that are classmates, and they've been wrestling together, Junior and Crumpler, that is, wrestling together for, it's got to be since they were little guys. Junior is a returning 7th place winner in New York State from last year out of a crew of 5 Niagara Falls Wolverines that made it to the state large school tournament from a year ago. So he's up to a 6-0 lead right now. He's getting some points, working on some top technique, it seems like. Grisanti, definitely scrappy wrestler, but Junior Reynolds is one of the best in the area, regardless of weight.
Yeah, and I can say when I gave up the varsity job in Lockport after the 2016-17 season, I coached modified, and all of these kids, Crumpler, Reynolds, Sipus, they were all modified kids and just hammers back then. And I think the biggest issue with them at that point in time was they were 7th and 8th graders, and they couldn't qualify through the APP test with Niagara Falls High School to wrestle at the varsity or JV level, and they were just, they were buzzsaws on the modified level. That was a tough ask for any modified kid to wrestle any one of these guys.
For sure, and that senior class includes Crumpler, Reynolds, and Cypress, all three returning state or section champions. Crumpler and Junior Reynolds returning state place winners as well. They anchoring that lineup at 126 to 132, covering 138 to 145 pounds. We'll see Grady Peterson up next, who's no slouch of a wrestler at 145 or 138, but that having that many good guys definitely causes some matchup problems for other coaches, especially given that usually you see some of the best actual wrestlers, get pound for pound within that range, that 126 to 138, 145 range. Guys that aren't maybe huge, big football players, but also extremely athletic enough to, especially, you got a couple seniors here at light weights like this is definitely an advantage too.
True, and the other thing that I think is a tremendous advantage for these kids is they're all close in weight. So who are they practicing with every day?
Yep.
One another. And that whole concept of iron sharpens iron, it's not uncommon on a lot of teams to see their better kids grouped closely together because they push one another in the practice room every day. They're practicing together every day, making each other better. That's a huge advantage to have a room like that Niagara Falls has got with, like I say, with Reynolds and Crumpler and Peterson and those kids all pretty close in weight. It's a huge advantage for them in their practice room.
Yeah, we've even seen it from wrestlers who graduate year over year. Like when we saw Willie McDougald, who's one of the best to ever do it in Section 6, he made all those kids that wrestled around him better for so many years. Michael Cypress, now a senior, would have interacted with him at least, been on the team. I know Willie's a couple years older now, but even having somebody like that's just so much better than everybody else. What an advantage that is to have somebody like that in the room, and just generationally, year over year, the wealth of talent year over year that creates is just. I don't know if Falls will ever, slow down, quote unquote. I don't know if that'll ever happen.
Right, and I think it's a couple of things. I think these young kids saw Willie and they looked up to him, and Willie was a kid who did it the right way all the time. He was a hard worker. Super dependable, super responsible, great sportsmanship, did everything right. And there's no surprise that he's doing what he's doing right now at Oklahoma.
Sure.
And the second thing is if you get stuck in a group with him, he's not going to go easy on you.
No.
He and so you got two choices. You either raise your level or, you get the snot kicked out of you every day in the practice room.
Exactly.
We're seeing a lot of athleticism here out of Junior.
Yeah.
Tough to get in on a leg on him and do anything from the neutral position, that's for sure.
Yeah. He's up to a 16-6 lead. He's got a major decision right now. Working on some technique, it looks like. Grisani's battling hard, though. Give him some credit. Let's see.
Just using Grisani's momentum against him there with that slide by, and then right to the.
Grisani, also a senior. A likely class placer on this roster for I think we could say that, likely class AA placer.
I would say you'll see him in the mix for sure.
Absolutely. So that's a pin for Junior Reynolds. Falls jumps out to a 12-0 lead in the team score after the first two weight classes. We'll see another one of their studs coming up here next with Grady Peterson. And after that, we might see a couple more comparable, equitable matches between some similar talent, I would expect. But we'll see Grady Peterson next, and he will wrestle Gavin Stevens.
And for Niagara Falls, Grady Peterson.
Gavin Stevens is a junior. Let me check on Peterson's grade point or grade as well, because he may be a senior. That's a name I recognize for being around quite some time on the squad. He may be one of those guys right in the exact same class as Junior Reynolds and Jaden Crumpler as well. I apologize for not knowing that ahead of time.
2-point takedown there for Peterson.
Yeah, Grady's a senior as well. So Crumpler, Reynolds, Peterson, 3 seniors in a row, with 2 of them being section champs and returning state place winners.
So, again, I mean, there's your shark group right there every day. These 3 kids, you know what I mean? And so.
Well, and then we'll finish up here with Ian Peterson at 118, who'll be the last match of the night, and he's also returning sectional champ. So that's 3 in a row tonight. If you look at the not in terms of the schedule tonight, but in terms of the weight classes in order, 3 section champs in a row. That's pretty big. So Falls has got the 12-0 lead. Falls is 1-0 in the conference so far. I believe there's other matches going on tonight around the league. We'll maybe check on some of those scores if I can catch up on them. But Falls is 1-0 in the league with a win over Lockport last week at home. And you got Kenmore is 0-1 in the league. They visited the powerful, mighty Niagara Wheatfield Falcons last week, up to number 2 in the local large school rankings this week. I saw Wheatfield last week. I expect the Falls-Wheatfield match on January 18th to be one of the better ones, I think, in quite some time, Coach. Wheatfield is loaded.
Always, always, always a great rivalry. You know, they're schools that are in very close proximity to one another, kids who train together a lot in the off season. I mean, you know, Coach Rick Sweeney is a Niagara Falls guy. I mean, he was the old coach at the old Niagara Falls High School forever. And so, you know, there's a lot of close relationships here with these kids. There's a deep, deep rivalry with these 2 programs. The gym is going to be packed. It's going to be loud on both sides. It's always a great duel.
Yeah, that's a must-see for any wrestling fan. Even if you don't got an athlete competing that night, if you're around the Niagara County region, Northern Erie County, anywhere, and you want to go for a ride and see a nice match, you get yourself to Niagara Wheatfield High School on Wednesday, January 18th. I don't want to get too far out of the way here. I'm going to assume that it'll probably be for the NFL title. We'll see what happens. You always hate to say it will be. I'm going to assume that's probably the best case scenario, most likely, and also obviously for the Niagara Cup, which Falls, I think, has kept for 3 years in a row now. So I know Wheatfield wants to get that back badly.
In this day and age of online sports betting, I'd give you about minus 1,000 for the odds for that being for the league championship.
Seriously.
I think that's a safe bet. The other thing, though, too, is you never know. You might see an earlier matchup with these 2 programs on January 8th at the large school sectional championships as well when we get to the duels, just depending on how the seeds fall and how the day progresses. Obviously, Star Point will be right in the mix there as well, but you never know. This could be a potential semifinal, you know, 2 versus 3 type deal in the sectional duels with the Falls and Wheatfield as well. You never know how that's going to all shake out.
I agree. It's looking like that right now, just based on what else is going on around the section with what Star Point's got going on. And I know Lancaster, Hamburg, Eden, and ECIC are also, you know, trying to move up in that to get away from Star Point, I would imagine. The 2 and 3 seeds are going to be a hot commodity in the next couple weeks here before the seeds and the records are due for the seeding committee for the sectional dual meet tournament.
Well, and the other thing I will say too is let's not make it a foregone conclusion that Star Point's going to win the duels.
Absolutely, sure.
But
I just mean the top seed.
But let's say this. No, but
Right.
here's what let's say Star Point does win. Take a team like Niagara Falls with as many returning state and sectional place finishers. Those are major criteria for wild card consideration at the state duels. So finishing second in our sectional duels and getting through that, if, let's say they do catch Niagara Wheatfield in a semi, a runner-up finish, even if it is a runner-up finish to Star Point, that's huge when you consider the amount of power points that they've got for at-large consideration. And, you know, you look at a team like Star Point, who last year got upset in the sectional duels, but had enough power points to get into the state championships as a wild card and made a heck of a lot of noise there in the state duels.
They absolutely did. Last year was the first time in the state duels has only been around this is our 4th one last year. The first time in the history of the 4 years of the duels where one section had 4 teams compete, all 4 teams win at least one match, and 2 of those 4 teams make it to the semifinals and go 2-1 on the day. We were the first ones to do that. And guess what? And both of the teams that made it to the semis were our wild cards.
Yep.
Falconer in Division II and Star Point in Division I.
So just a quick update on this match here. Gavin Stevens hanging tough with Grady. It's 4-1 going into the third. Give credit to Stevens out there wrestling tough against a very tough opponent.
For sure. Peterson had, I believe, a reversal there in the second period, and Stevens couldn't get away, but also Peterson held in tough, but also try not to give up any, the escape or another reversal. So that was a good sequence in that second period. Grady got the early reversal, and then that was the only scoring in that entire period.
See where we go here in the third with Stevens on bottom if he can get out early and give himself a chance.
Yep.
So we had get cradled.
So we saw at the beginning of the match. So Kenmore must have choice odds because they sent out first.
Correct.
So we will. So let's see. They had choice at 45. Falsell had 38. Falsell had choice at.
Kenmore choice here. I'm sure they probably
Yes.
deferred in the second to Peterson, thus giving Stevens the down position in
Absolutely.
the third.
Yep. Okay.
Couple of big back points there for Peterson on that cradle, opening himself up a little lead. Now you get to the point with a 5-point lead where you're going to start looking for more turns if you can to get yourself to that 8-point major decision criteria.
Right. He's also spent quite a bit of time on top too. You think about if doesn't look like it, but if you wrestle that long on top, about the fatigue factor as well. So we'll see how that plays in. There's a minute 19 left in the third period. Peterson up 6-1, Falls up 12-0. And we started off with a bunch of great JV matches. You love to see a ton of JV matches. It makes for a long night, but you love to see how many wrestlers are coming out for both of these teams.
Definitely.
Yep. Especially Kenmore, who we've known is building those numbers back up. We know that they are combined. It's a combined Kenmore East, Kenmore West. So the beds combination for them is pretty big. But nonetheless, we're all about encouraging more wrestlers, more kids to come out and try the sport.
The only thing you'd prefer when you do have a lot of JV matches like tonight is an official that shows up on time.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to get that.
Had to
get that little dig in on Don Chadley.
So there's an escape for Stevens, 6-2. So 57 seconds left here.
Gavin's definitely got to go here. He did not a lot of time.
Yep.
He's got to get going on his feet here. Although that's not an easy ask against Grady here.
Good shot.
As Grady's in on a good double right to his back.
Good shot, good finish, good safe finish as well. And it's going to be a pin for Falls. They're going to go up 18-0. Late third period pin for Grady Peterson after a good battle.
That's the tough thing when you start considering team scores. Gavin's out there, he's wrestling his butt off, doing a really good job of even just keeping it close, but then you give up that one big double leg right to your back, and you go from just giving up 3 team points to giving up 6 with the pin. That's the name of the game in dual meets, is keeping your losses close. On the winning side, getting the pins when you can get them, that makes all the difference in the world.
Yep.
Sawyer Dickinson.
It's all about those bonus points, right, Coach? How many times have you seen I'm sure you coached in matches where they may have won more individual bouts, but if you get more bonus points,
100%,
it make all the difference. So we've already seen 2 or 3 of the best wrestlers in this duel so far. We'll see one of the other ones. We'll see Kenmore's probably top guy, I'd venture to say.
I would
Sawyer
agree.
Dickinson.
Sawyer's young, too.
I believe he's only a freshman.
I want to say you're correct there.
Yep. Sawyer is a freshman at 132. Well, he's going out at 145 tonight, but he's certified for, right around 138.
Actually 33, so
33.
We could see him down all the way at 32 after Christmas.
Yep.
Whether he and Coach Wilcox make that decision to go that low, ultimately will be up to them. I mean, again, when you look at how the rest of the section is going to shake down, and how Reynolds and Crumpler break themselves apart. Both are certified at 26, but I would bet that you're not going to see the two of them in the same weight. So one of those kids you're going to see at 32. So that's something to take into consideration if you're Sawyer. Where do you want to, but ultimately in a situation like that too, sending the top 2 kids to the state tournament, for a kid like Sawyer who's a 9th grader, I think that's a great goal. I mean, if you can get into the sectional finals, win or lose, get yourself a berth into the state tournament, that experience at such a young age is invaluable.
Yeah, I mean, that sticks on your record forever for considerations for every year from now through being a senior. I mean, that would be a hell of a day for him to make some noise at the sectional.
For sure. And I mean, you know, obviously we don't have the at-large berths anymore, which I'm a fan of. I think it's much more equitable. It's much more fair to just send your top two. Every kid who's going knows they're going at the end of the state qualifier, which I think is great, rather than waiting around a week to see if you're in or see if you're not in. I think that's a huge advantage mentally and physically for your preparation. But, you know, again, I think the biggest thing is, having been to multiple state tournaments and coached kids there, going multiple times is such an advantage, because your second or third time that you go, you have so much of a better idea what to expect. The spectacle of the state tournament is something that, you know, you can't match. And it's, you know, for some kids, it's daunting, it's intimidating, and, you know, some of them clam up a little bit there.
Yeah, we see it every year. So Dickinson is up 2-0. You got the takedown in the first period. Couldn't find any back points, though. He's wrestling Niagara Falls' Paul Robertson at 145 pounds. Looks like Kenmore no, they had choice. Yeah, so they deferred at this weight. And it looks like Falls wanted to go on top, get an opportunity to wrestle on top, I would think Coach McCoy wanted his guy to do. Dickinson gets out 3-0. His only loss this year, he's 10-1 this year, Coach. He's got 6 pins, and his only loss is to Tremel Matthews from Wheatfield, who's a returning state qualifier from last year. So not a bad loss on his record.
Good start to your year. You know, you get 10 wins under your belt before Christmas. Looking for number 11 tonight, definitely.
We'll see him mix it up, I think, this weekend at Niagara County Community College for the Linda Canutula Memorial Tournament.
So you're working that double bar arm here, looking to get some back points or maybe even a fall.
Oh, he's got a tight double bar under there. Robertson breaks it, though, but Sawyer resets, lifts the head. If he walks towards the head a little bit, he may find the pin. But he's got a good base.
He's
teeing
getting
off,
close.
and he's going to get it. So Sawyer Dickinson gets the first pin of the night, first win of the night for Kenmore. Falls leads 18-6, and that was at 145 pounds. So we've seen 4 matches, 4 pins so far. 3 by Falls, 1 by Kenmore. That's definitely an impressive freshman that we'll have to keep an eye on for the rest of his time here in high school. So we'll move on to 152. Kenmore has choice.
From Kenmore, Leigh Knies.
So
It's like Coach Wilcox might be making a move here.
Niagara Falls, Vinny Falsetti.
No, this is, I'm sorry, 45. This is what he planned
52,
to do.
Yeah. So we got Leigh Knies, I hope I say that right, and Vinny Falsetti. I think Falsetti is a junior. I've seen his name on this roster for a number of years. So we're at 152 pounds. Kenmore had choice here. Match score 18-6 in favor of Niagara Falls. And he's looking for the double underhooks, looking for a bear hug. It's 2022, Coach. I forgot looking at the history books, 2012 was the last time Kenmore won the
I remember
NFL
that
title. You know that.
I
You were
remember
coaching
that
against them, right?
well. That was so I can tell you that we opened the season that year against Kenmore West. It was the first duel in our Niagara Frontier League schedule, and it was the duel that decided the league. We lost in a close one to Kenmore West. That year, Coach Day had, I believe, 4 state reps on his team. He had just a stacked lineup. And, yes, that was we finished that year, if I remember correctly, 14-1 with our only loss coming the first duel against Kenmore West.
Wow. So who are those guys? Let me get Anthony Argenteri, right?
Yep.
Dylan Caruana.
I believe Dylan might have been in that lineup.
Okay.
A couple other bigger guys, too. Trying to remember who they had a couple of their bigger guys who were state qualifiers at that point in time too. There was a huge swing match, I want to say, right around 160 in that duel that we came up on the short end of against, and I mean, it was a match on paper that we thought we probably were going to win, and we didn't, and that ultimately decided the duel that night.
Wow. Well, Falsetti is going to decide this one at 152 with a pin to put the Wolverines up 24-6. First period pin. Just about 30 seconds left in the first period there. So Falsetti got after that one. Another cradle we saw. So 5 pins through 5 weights so far. Ken Falls takes a 24-6 lead. And Falls will send here at 160 pounds.
Now wrestling at 160 pounds, from Niagara Falls, Jaden Goodson.
All right.
And from Kenmore.
Yeah, Jaden Hilson from the Falls, who is a senior. And we got Alex Groman from Kenmore. He's a junior.
Alex is a 52-pounder, too, weighed in tonight at 152, so he's bumping up a weight, which is already makes it a little bit more difficult.
So this may be a comparable match. We'll see. We've already seen 2 of Niagara Falls returning state qualifiers. We already saw Kenmore's probably top guy there, freshman Sawyer Dickinson. Imagine what that guy's going to do, Coach, for being a freshman and the athletes that stick with him through their years here at Kenmore. Imagine what that'll do for some of their careers as long as they decide to stick it out and keep with the sport of wrestling. I imagine that just like when we were talking about Willie McDougald, imagine that it might be the same kind of effect where you have a young guy who's obviously very, very good for his age and also pretty heavy for his age as well at 138 pounds or 133 pounds. And as competitive as he is, you hope to see his classmates right around him stick with him and see what they can do. Maybe put together 100-win careers by the end of their careers. Maybe place in the section a couple times. Who knows? Maybe one of them, a couple of them, you see come out as seniors and absolutely burst, have the best year of their career, their high school wrestling career as seniors. That's the good type of stuff you like to see with the sport of wrestling.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, for Sawyer, as talented as he is individually, I think, you want your teammates to raise their level of competition as well, because, you want to be on a good team as well. You not only do you want to have success individually, but, you'd like to be involved in. There's nothing better than a good duel, a good competitive duel. And I mean, so as he comes up and continues to work his way through the program, and Coach Wilcox is going to have – Dave's going to have him wrestling in the offseason. There's no doubt about that. He's going to have to kind of bring some of these other kids along with him.
Not sure what's going on with the match score up on the board there. I think it should be 2-0, not 12-0.
That's a little bit off, I think, yeah.
It's all right. We're keeping track of it. Whoa, risky near side cradle there. Hilson kind of exposes himself. He's got to be careful to settle his weight on that. He's a little too far right now.
A little overextended, yep.
Good job to get to a base for Caneas. Or no, sorry, Groman. But Hilson nearly gets a takedown, kind of caught him off guard there as they were getting close to the line. Yeah, I guess it just so happened we came 10 years after. Yeah, it's before, I'm always interested in reading through the history. I'm not a native Western New Yorker, but I've learned quite a bit from a number of people, and I always like to see, look back through the history books, and I see, the last NFL champions. I see Lockport, Wheatfield Falls, Lockport, and then I see Kenmore popping up in there, and I've learned that a little bit about that team. So that's interesting to know. I did not realize that you guys started the season with them that year.
That was like I say, that was before I was the NFL scheduler. Had I been the NFL scheduler that year, there's no way that would have ever happened.
Sure. So who would have been some other coaches around the league? Coach Rick up at Wheatfield, right?
He definitely was there at that time.
DJ?
I think Izzy was still at the Falls at that point in time.
Okay.
John Hoover would have been at Newport at that point in time.
Okay.
Jeff Johnston would have been the coach at Grand Island at that period in time. He's someone, again, who's was there for quite some time and did a real nice job, but has since moved on.
Dan Fire, probably NT, right?
Maybe
not.
At that point in time, it may have been Mark Duquette still.
Okay.
Or potentially Chris Perna.
Okay.
Would be my thought there.
And then East would have had their own team still back then
Kenmore
as well.
East would have had their own team under the leadership of either Greg Joel or Joe Korniski at that point.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure who had the helm at that point in that program.
Okay. There's a little history lesson. Whoa! Good reversal by Hilson. So it's 2-2 to start the second period. Hilson gets a quick reversal right to back points. He turned that around fast.
That's one thing you're going to see out of a lot of these Falls kids is that explosiveness. That's one thing that they're, obviously super athletic, explosive in the hips, and that's something that that you're not surprised. Something you got to be ready for when you're wrestling a Niagara Falls team every year.
I know that they're big into their fitness and conditioning. I know Coach Giancola has told me that. Coach Egan and Coach McCoy have carried on the same philosophy. You know that these guys are going to come in shape.
Definitely.
As well. So Hilson's now looking for the pin. Groman has over a minute to try to fight it off. He's in a tough spot, and Hilson will finish it with a pin at 160 pounds there, halfway through the second period. Falls will take a 30-6 lead. Right at the halfway point in the varsity match here in this NFL. Third week of the season, second NFL match for each of these teams. Falls looking to improve to 2-0. Last year, they were 7-0 in the league, captured the NFL title for the second straight year. Well, second straight normal year, I suppose. 13-1 overall was their record last year. Kenmore finished fourth in the league standings, 4-3 in the NFL, 6-11 overall. Coach, one of those things I was caught my eye last year that I wanted to keep track of closely this year was not just the Falls, not just Wheatfield, but those 3 through 7 spots in the league. They were very competitive duels last year between Lockport, Kenmore, North Tonawanda, and Grand Island. Some very, very close scores. I think North Tonawanda beat all 3 of those teams by like 8 or less points.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see something very similar to that this year. Again, you've got programs in the ones that you've mentioned there, teams like North Tonawanda, Lockport, Kenmore, who have really worked hard to build their numbers recently. And, that's the number one piece to the puzzle of having success in dual meets is just filling your lineup. If you're able to do that, you're gonna win your fair share of duels for sure, and they're going to be competitive. And coaches are going to have to take notice of what you're doing and what your lineup is, and they're going to have to try to put together their best lineup and strategize matchups and things like that. So definitely, I think you'll see a very similar. I think definitely, as we said before, Niagara Wheatfield, Niagara Falls, probably the class of the Niagara Frontier League. But you're looking at a dogfight in that 3 through 5 spots there for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I know that the Lumberjacks it was one of the best finishes they've had in the league in a number of years. They told me they couldn't even remember when the last time was they placed third or higher. I mean, I'm saying that's because it's such a tough division with the Falls and Wheatfield that even third in that league is a huge accomplishment. And I mean, I give all the credit in the world to North Tonawanda for what they did, and in winning those, especially those 3 duels against those other similar teams in impressive fashion. Winning those, I mean, they were 8 to 4 points, I think, was the differential in 3 league matches. That was huge for them.
Absolutely, and I can tell you that going back to my days as a coach, I loved it when our league was competitive. It makes all of us better. I don't want to go in as a coach. I don't want to go into a duel knowing that we're going to collect 7 or 8 forfeits and win the duel by 50 or 60 points. That doesn't do anything for your team. It doesn't do anything to help build your program. So, I loved it when we were competitive throughout our league. There were a couple of years where our league schedule was an absolute meat grinder, and those were the best years. I loved that.
Good for wrestling.
Absolutely, 100%.
So let's talk about these wrestlers here real quick. We've got another one of the Falls, one of their star wrestlers, one of the best in Western New York, with Mikey Sipus here at 172 pounds, defending sectional champion. He's wrestling Preston Rennie from Kenmore. Sipus is one of the best we got, especially at this weight, which can be somewhat of there's some years where 172, 189 can be thin. It's somewhat of a weird weight class to stretch here, where you see
Always
a lot of
has
guys
been.
who maybe don't wrestle because they're football oriented or they play basketball. But Sipus is definitely one of the dominant wrestlers in this weight class, and you see him looking for a pin right now. He's got to get the pin here for the extra bonus point because he's up 13-0. But yeah, I mean, Sipus is just,
There's their fall.
Yep, there's your pin. But Sipus is one of those guys that you've been around long enough, and anybody that's paid attention to wrestling knows that this guy's been in the weight room nonstop for like 3 or 4 years now.
He was a little guy when he wrestled modified. He's definitely matured into a really strong young man.
Yep, so we'll be looking for big things. He should have some good matches this weekend at Niagara County Community College. Definitely a wrestler expected to have big postseason, a big postseason in the sectional tournament. Assuming he's got to get through the sectional tournament, get those top 2 spots to make it back to the state tournament. I know he missed placing last year, and I know he was a little disappointed from that. But he's definitely someone that should be a top 8 finisher in Albany this year, obviously assuming he makes it back. So
definitely.
So as Mikey Sipus put the Wolverines up 36-6, coming down the home stretch here in the heavyweights. That was 172 pounds. We're at 189 pounds now. We'll see Timothy Chapman from Kenmore, and we'll see Cameron Hall from Niagara Falls here at 189 pounds.
Same thing. You're seeing a bump here in weight. Chapman's at 170 pounds, up wrestling 189.
Good. Oh, looking for a headlock early, too. Chapman is a senior. I think Hall, I've seen his name for a number of years, too. But Chapman's looking for the pin early. He's got the headlock. Hall's also a senior. So 2 seniors going at it at 189, and Chapman wants that pin.
I think Chapman took away the 2 here even. Now he's got it.
Now he's got it. So
there's the takedown.
So 4.
That's 2-0.
2-0.
First takedown right there. He originally awarded the 2-point takedown on the headlock, but then took it away.
Okay.
Which I'm fine with.
Yeah.
I want him to get the call right. And if you jump the gun and you award the 2 too fast, take it away and get it right. I'm all for that.
Yeah, I mean, Falls is up big. It's early for the referees. A lot of these guys have only done a couple of matches so far, maybe a tournament. We want to get our referees sharp, too, as well, right?
Definitely.
So, well, either way, Chapman's in control here on top.
He had a far side cradle lock for a minute there, but
what's Coach Wilcox's? Oh, there's a far side, but he's got to get that arm involved before Hall frogs it.
Now here he's on that same side of the he let it go.
Get wrist control. Maybe think about picking an ankle. He's stepping right into that far side cradle if you want to look for it. He's going to step in front and try to trip. A crab ride. What's Coach Wilcox's top technique? What's his style on top?
He was always, when he worked with us, he was big, more in wrist control, some tight waist tilts, things like that were a little bit more his forte.
He did a good job this is his second head coaching stop. Let's not forget he spent, I think, 2 seasons at Canisius as well and had some pretty solid wrestlers and some pretty decent teams for the Crusaders. He did some really good work over there for a couple of years as well. So he'll send Chapman down with a 2-0 lead to start the second period. The Hall get an opportunity to wrestle on top. Thought we might see a pin
Gotta
and a headlock in the first period.
Yeah.
But he's got to keep his head off the mat, though. Well, we've seen some of the best wrestlers in Section 6 so far tonight kind of dominating their matches. This is like one of the first ones we've seen that maybe an actual competitive-wise, one of the more parity matches we've seen so far. Hall's jumping on top. Now he's looking for the far side.
Got to watch his hips here.
He is getting back points out.
Yep, he's got that.
Nice.
Got that wrist.
Yep.
Couple of points on a little easy cheap tilt. Now he's running a more traditional half Nelson.
Oh, he's got to keep his supporting points in bounds. He can pin him. Oh, they go out though. Okay.
You know, in matches like this, what we often see so often are one of two things. Either A, somebody makes the big mistake. That's what it comes down to. Somebody makes the big mistake and gets caught, and the match ends up in a fall. The other thing that sometimes becomes a factor in these back-and-forth matches is obviously conditioning. Who's got more gas in the tank come the third period? When these kids are back and forth like this, it'll be interesting. Hall's going to want to get on the same side as that half Nelson, which he did not do.
Chapman's kind of,
there you go.
There you go.
There's your mistake. But again, here we go, but kind of rolling around back and forth.
But he's got the two. He does have the reversal, so now he's definitely got it. But he had it there, then got kind of hairy for a second, but he's going to keep control. So for a 4-2 score in favor of Chapman. Both these teams had big opening weekends. Kenmore went to the Sweet Home Duels, the 50th Sweet Home, Joe Shiflett Sweet Home Tournament. Had some good matches there. Falls wrestled some of the best in Western New York at the Star Point Duels. They wrestled Star Point. I think they saw Southwestern. They wrestled Alexandra out of Section 5. So they saw some good talent as well the first week, but did not compete this past weekend. I think Kenmore went to Fred Large at Lindenville, and Dickinson was their lone individual champion on Saturday. Both of them, most of Western New York will be at Niagara County Community College this weekend. And 11 seconds left in the second period. Caution on Chapman, and I missed what the point was for Hall. That was an escape.
It was a locking hands call. Chapman locked his hands.
Okay. Couldn't have been an escape, Matt.
Yep.
Because now they're still on the mat, so.
Chapman clinging to a 4-3 lead here as we come to the end of two. You'll definitely see Hall go down here. Chapman's going to want to be careful not to lock his hands for a second time.
Mm-hmm.
Never want to give those freebies in a close match.
No, they compound.
Almost did it right off the whistle again.
Yep. Let's see some other scores from the area. Looks like Lancaster gets their first win in ECIC 1 tonight. There's another
your
one.
Locking hands call.
It's another point. The next one's 2.
So if I'm Coach Wilcox right now, I'm thinking about going neutral.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about getting off the mat and going neutral. Let's see what he does.
Yep.
Yeah, he's going to roll the dice and try to stay on top.
Yep.
Let's see how it works out. Next, like as you said, next locking hands call will be a 2-point penalty as they compound.
Mm-hmm.
Good idea here there. When you get a bunch of locking hands calls, go to a spiral ride. And someone with as long of arms as we see here out of Chapman, that's a great ride for a kid with his body style.
Mm-hmm.
Get deep into that spiral ride. Want to keep your weight a little bit more. Your hips got to stay higher than your opponent's.
Maybe scoop an ankle.
Definitely.
Try to center your center of gravity.
Always loved the spiral ride for kids who were long and lanky, like you see here with Chapman.
Oh. I mean, that's a great ride, but it's so much more effective if you have long arms and long legs and,
no doubt.
and a long body. I mean, it's just brutal to try to get out of that.
And it's safe. I mean, it keeps you in decent position all the way. You're not going to lock your hands. You're going to stay in good position on top. Look at how deep that spiral is there. You got all the way to the ankle with that arm.
So it might be a potentially dangerous.
PD here.
We'll
Yep.
stop that.
Yep. See, now here's the thing, okay? You're looking at a 4-4 match with under a minute to go. If I'm Coach Wilcox, I'm going to my feet here.
Yeah.
And there it is.
It is. Yep.
Who was that guy? Who was that guy's coach?
Yeah.
Who taught him that strategy? You know, I mean, the bottom line is you need a takedown one way or the other, whether it's now or in overtime. And by staying on top, you open yourself up to another locking hands call or a late escape that costs you the match. So let's go on our feet. Let's give ourselves pretty much a full minute to get that takedown and seal the deal here.
Right.
And then worst case scenario, if you do give up a late escape, you're 6-6 and you're going to overtime. Here's a takedown coming here, though, if Chapman doesn't.
Oh, no. So if
illegal
headlock,
which is a 2-pointer now. This will be a 2-point penalty. There it is. Now you put yourself in a position where you got to go for that headlock.
Yep.
You need the big move from your feet now. That's where those locking hands penalties really come back to bite you in the end. Not just did it cost him the 2 penalty points in the second period, but then you make a mistake in the third and you end up giving up 2 more on 1 penalty.
Yeah. It's a tough penalty at that point in the match.
Here it is,
but
though,
he's got to go for it.
Here it is.
He's up. He's down 7-4. Needs a takedown and he needs near fall. He's got 9 seconds left, though. He doesn't have the takedown.
He's got nothing yet. There's 2, maybe. Right there's 2.
That's 2. He's going to run out of time, though.
Yep.
All right. So good effort.
You know, tough thing. You lose a 1-point match and you give up 4 penalty points. That's the killer there, and you know that makes coaches like me who don't have a lot of hair. That's why.
Yeah. Well, either way,
good competitive match.
Competitive match. You want to see? Hall gets the win, 7-6, and that'll add 3 to the team score for the Falls. They'll go up 39-6 in this NFL match. Good battle by both wrestlers. We had a couple ECIC results. We had a win from Lancaster tonight, a win from Pioneer. Pioneer is approaching 60 straight league wins, Coach. They're, I think, at number 58 tonight.
Unbelievable.
Maryvale.
Coach Edwards, man, keeps churning out victories down there.
Okay, so we'll go to Lewis Ublis from the Falls. And let me make sure I say this young man's name right. Islam Dubaishi. Islam Dubaishi from Kenmore and Luis Ubels from Niagara Falls. And this is at 215 pounds. So coming into the last 5 weight classes here.
That's an old Wheatfield name, Dubashi. It's funny how when you get to be my age and you've been around for, 26 years, you start to see the names recycle themselves.
Cousins, brothers, uncles, dads.
And I mean, generations. I mean, you take a kid who maybe early in my career, in the late 90s was 17. I mean, that kid's 40 years old now. He's, got kids in high school, a lot of those folks like that. So you start to see the names, like I say, that were once there, they resurface. And I mean, and that's very common in programs that are steep in tradition. You mentioned programs like Pioneer, Niagara Wheatfield, programs like that. You see those names, they never go away.
Oh, good shot. Well, it's a 39-6 lead here for the Falls in their both teams' second NFL match. Let me once again mention Western New York Immediate Care is here for you this holiday season, open every day, no appointment needed. Take a look on your screen to see their holiday hours, especially coming up here. We got Christmas, we got New Year's. Stay safe. Visit their website for more information. Niagara Falls head coach is legendary program alumni Josh Egan, assisted by Donnie McCoy. Both have been around the program for quite some time. Both are teachers, I believe, in the district. right, Coach, Phys Ed teachers?
Josh is a
Josh
teacher,
is.
and I believe Don is. Don works in the building in a support personnel role, I believe.
Right.
I don't know that he's a teacher, but I know he does work in the building. Yep.
So no score
you
here.
You got Josh McCoy sitting right next to him there too, former Niagara Falls wrestler himself.
Oh yeah. I think Egan's third year as head coach. Took over in the 2020-2021 COVID year. I
The
think
Super
was his
year,
first
the Super League year. That's right.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
right. You're talking to the architect of the Super League over here. That was something.
That was cool. It was just great that the kids were able to wrestle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But to be able to pull that off with those teams, and it was great. I mean, you know, it was unfortunate, obviously, that year for Erie County schools to not have that same opportunity, but, you know, great for our kids to have the opportunity to compete. You know, we were able to take in Star Point and the other teams from the NO League. It was awesome. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, that's Falls, Wheatfield, Newfane, Star Point had some great matches. Teams that are all in Niagara County that don't obviously don't wrestle each other for the league title.
Right.
Other than Wheatfield and Falls, of course. But, I mean, Star Point is a solid program in ECIC2. Newfane's won the last 8 NO titles. So it was very interesting to see how that unfolded, as well as some of the other NO teams crossing over. You got like Wilson and some of these teams with small beds numbers taking on Niagara Falls in a league match. You know, it's just you don't see that all the time. Oh.
Well, and the other thing, too, is, I mean, for those kids who had the opportunity to compete, and like I say, unfortunately, the Erie County schools didn't have that same opportunity. I mean, they were in the spotlight there because they were the only gig in town at that point, and so it was cool for them.
Yep. So we got a flurry here of points. We got reversals. We got a body lock.
And some penalty points being doled out as well.
Yep. Looks like Islam scored the first point here, which was an escape, which is important to know if they go into overtime. Right now they're tied 3-3. .26 seconds left in the second period. Ubile's looking to add some points here. I would stay in control. There's 20 seconds left.
Cradle here. Not quite. Didn't get it locked.
I think Kenmore will have choice here. Or no, Falls will have. Well, Kenmore had choice to start the second period.
Red
so Falls
choice.
will have
Yep.
choice now.
Niagara Falls choice. So go down.
Third period. Tie score. Important third period here.
Same thing, same situation here for Kenton. I mean, if you're you know, Coach Wilcox, and if you're wrestling, if you're Dubashi here, you're going to take your chance on top. You're going to see if you can get those points, but if it doesn't pan out, you're just going to go to your feet, which ultimately you end up here anyway. So it really doesn't matter. But you know, a takedown is what it's going to take to win. So we'll see what happens. I have a feeling, though, we're going to see more than just 2 points scored in the rest of this.
I agree. Maybe a headlock. Oh. Got to watch out. He's adjusting his headgear on his feet. He's got to be careful there. Dubashi's going to try to take a shot on him. He's attempted it twice when Ubiles hasn't necessarily been, faced directly facing him, kind of escape it. On the edge of the mat there.
You can see that strap on the classic headgear coming down into Ubilis's eyes there, and here comes a potential headlock again. No dice.
Islam's got to come up with something here. There's 40 seconds left. Ubiles has the lead. He's up 4-3. I don't believe there's ever any stalling warnings yet, so he's in good shape. Oh,
There's your first one right there, warning red.
Just had to say it.
He is backing up. He's got to get himself circled back into the middle and try to create a little bit of offense. A stalling call would tie the match, a second stalling call. Yeah, you might get it here, too, if he keekeeps backing up.
15 seconds left. There's plenty of time for it.
This is what McCoy and Egan are telling Ubilis here. He got to stay in the middle. If he backs up right away here, and again, if you're Dubashi, you got to keep the pressure on right here. You can't wait.
Good low shot for a 215-pounder. Nice low. Got low real quick there. That's not going to be enough, though. It's going to be a 1-point win for Luis Ubiles from Niagara Falls. Add another 3 team points to the team score. It'll be 42-6. Niagara Falls coming down the home stretch here. We'll see a match at 285. We'll see a couple forfeits at 102 and 118, and I'm not sure what's going on at 118.
102 and 110, you'll see 110. You'll see Peterson at 18.
Right.
That's Riel Mayfield.
You know, it'll be interesting to see what Coach Wilcox decides to do at 118. I'm not familiar with. He has Naz Motley weighed in at 118, but if Naz is a young kid, sometimes it doesn't make in a situation like this where the match is decided. Sometimes coaches will opt just to forfeit to the better, they don't, when their wrestler is that much overmatched, they'll opt to forfeit there to. They don't want to risk an injury, and they want to. The young kid's not going to get a whole heck of a lot out of going out there against someone who he's clearly overmatched by either.
Sure.
So we'll see what Coach does at 118.
Okay.
But before we do that, we got to get these heavyweights out of the way.
Yeah, we'll see Atrial Mayfield from the Falls, and we will see Dylan Shaw, who's a freshman from Kenmore, at 285 pounds.
Good quickness from Mayfield there on the snap and spin. Going to the power half, classic heavyweight pinning combination.
Yep.
There it is.
Yep. And
this might be it. He's got to slide that left hand out from underneath the shoulder blade there. He's blocking himself from pinning him.
There he goes. Well, that's the difference in speed between a senior and a freshman, I would say. But Mayfield gets the pin for the Falls. They'll go up 48-6. And we'll end it up here in the 3 lightest weights, 102, 110, and 118. I think we'll see a couple of forfeits in favor of Kenmore in this one.
Next on the mat, for Kenmore, at 102 pounds, Jake Gianantonio.
Jake Gianantonio, I saw, I said that right. Yeah, I did. 8th grader. Saw him wrestle a couple weeks ago at Sweet Home. Good little wrestler. He's going to take a forfeit, though. So 48-12 team score in favor of the Falls.
At 110 pounds, for Kenmore, getting a forfeit.
Get another forfeit here. Jacob Jacka, a sophomore. He'll accept a forfeit. So it's 48-18. And we'll see if we get one more bout tonight. Hopefully we do.
And it looks like Wilcox is getting his guy ready here at 118.
Okay.
We're going to see Motley.
And our last match of the evening at 118 pounds. From Kenmore, Naz Motley.
Naz Motley.
Motley, okay.
Motley, Naz Motley. You like Naz, right, Coach?
I do like Naz. Yeah. Illmatic, one of the most epic hip-hop records ever made.
Ian Peterson.
So we'll see Naz Motley from Kenmore, and we will see the Niagara Falls Wolverines, Ian Peterson, one of their 4 returning sectional champions. A sophomore, was a champion in large schools at 102 pounds last year. Up a couple of weight classes. And this will be my first look at him. I haven't gotten to see him yet. Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, it didn't end up that way because of the way the schedule, because of where they started tonight. But from 118 to 132, Niagara Falls put a sectional champion on the mat tonight. That's pretty rare. And you're right, that's going to be huge for them for dual meet considerations because that's such a big deal for the seeding. And I mean, it's helped a couple of Section 6 teams get to the state tournament as wild cards, a number of them. And
again, I mean, you know, Niagara Falls is a team that can go there and have some success with, you know, with the lineup they bring out. And especially as you get into to January, you get you get everybody down to their postseason weight, and, you know, you really stabilize your lineup where you want it. They definitely have the opportunity to go there and do well. But there's a long road to hoe still. There's a lot of wrestling between then and now. And Motley kind of hanging in there.
Ooh.
Banged his head a little bit on the gym floor. He looks to be all right, though.
Yep, he's good. Okay. I'm sure his teammates might have told him who he would be wrestling tonight, possibly. And sometimes you see someone who probably isn't favored in the match. Sometimes they kind of get intimidated by the moment, and sometimes they come out and they put up a good challenge. And so far,
rise to the occasion.
Looks like Motley so far is doing the latter of that. Maybe make a name for himself tonight.
You know, every time you go out there, you got to compete. You regardless of a kid's resume and what he's achieved, and you know, you definitely want to respect your opponent, but you got to go out there and you got to compete and you got to lay it on the line every single night. And who knows?
All right, still no score. 0-0. We saw a big result in ECIC 1 last night, too, with Williamsville Northeast taking down Clarence. That'll be a big. ECIC 1 is packed again this year. It's a loaded slate of teams that are already in the rankings. Last year it was extremely deep. Williamsville North off to a 2-0 start, though. I think they've got a win over Clarence. And then they beat somebody, Orchard Park, beat an up-and-coming Orchard Park team last week as well. So Williamsville North will definitely be a bubble team, I think, for the sectional dual meet tournament. Right now they're making a good case for themselves, though, at 2-0 in a very, very good league.
Well, and not for nothing, you got to believe.
Easy.
Yeah, you got to be careful there. On a mat return situation like that, folks, it's the returning wrestler's responsibility to bring his opponent down safely. As you saw there, Motley returned Peterson right on the back of his head, so that's an illegal slam. Fortunately, though, Peterson's all right, and we're going to keep going here.
Yep.
But as I was saying, you know, you got to expect that Williamsville North, Williamsville East team, you know, to continue to improve, especially when you consider some of the quality coaching they're getting in the room with, you know, Jeff Catcherbone and now Shiflett in the fold, who's got, you know, he's an extremely decorated Section 6 alumnus and, you know, obviously went on to do great things at the Division I college level in Hofstra, things like that. I mean, having guys like that in your room, you know, you don't see a whole lot of high school rooms with people in there with resumes like those two guys.
No, I agree. It's rare to find. What a great opportunity. Between Coach Catcherbone and Coach Shiflett, they have 6 Division I All-Americans on their resumes between them, just as wrestlers.
Right.
I mean, that's not even counting the coaching experience and international experience. So that's huge. Oh, Motley looking for a spladle. Oh, ran out of space on that one, but that was a good-looking spladle.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, Cat is he was a national runner-up. I believe he lost to Brandon Slay in the finals.
I believe so, yes. So after that illegal move there, now we got a caution for Motley, but after that illegal move, that slam we had just in the first period, these two have been really getting after it. Peterson that's another caution, that's 2.
Next one's going to ding him.
A point. But Peterson has the 1-0 lead only because of that illegal move, though. We call it illegal move, not unnecessary roughness in that case.
Correct.
Yep. So he's got to hang in here. He's doing a good job to hang in here with a minute to go in the second period. Had a nice spladle in, but ran out of space on that last reset.
Peterson's really got to get busy working on these hands here. There's another slam.
Oh, it's another slam.
Coach Wilcox is going to want to spend a little time in the practice room working on mat returns
Yeah.
with Nas.
Yep. Luckily, these haven't resulted in any injury. I hope. Good aggressiveness from Motley, but he's got to be careful. He's got to know better than to do that.
So in a situation like this, after an illegal move, we're awarding recovery time to Peterson here. He's allowed a minute of recovery time. He'll be seen to Anthony Cerace, the Niagara Falls trainer, who we can see over there.
Mm-hmm.
If Peterson is deemed unfit to continue, he will be declared the winner, and Niagara Falls will receive 16 points. But it does look like Ian's all right.
Yep.
Coach Egan just wanted to take a second to make sure his guy was all right. Yep. Definitely the ethical thing to do is if your wrestler is fit to continue, then you want that to happen for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And there's never a question with guys like Egan and McCoy that they're going to do the right thing.
Okay.
Motley's got to be careful here to lock his hands. Not to lock his hands, I should say.
Right, because those penalties will compound with other.
There's a switch for two.
Switch. Good, nice looking reversal there. So a 4-0 lead for the two illegal moves and the reversal for Peterson. Approaching 30 seconds left in the second period. So far, it's been a pretty good match. Pretty aggressive between these two. Motley's been impressive.
You respect the way he's out. Nas is out there competing. That's for sure. You talk about. You mentioned it before, Matt, with building the program and around people like Dickinson. Well, here's a kid to me, who jumps out as a kid who's got a lot of potential, who could be good. You put a little time in with a kid like Nas here, who's got some athletic ability. He's tough. I mean, these are kids that you can bring along. These are the kids you build around.
He did get a stalling warning there on bottom just a second ago. Trying to find his record here. Nazir is they have Naz for short. Nazir is his first name. Mm-hmm. 1, 2. He's 2 and I think 4 right now, but he's got wrestled some good wrestlers. Wrestled Mason Everts to a 2-1 decision from North Tonawanda. Wrestled Victor Cusadas from Wilson, who's a very good wrestler. Older, I think, for his weight class at 118 pounds from Wilson. Wrestled Andrew Jeffers from Churchville Chili, who's a returning Section 5 placer, I believe. So he's wrestled some good wrestlers so far. Doesn't have any forfeits. I mentioned that Kenmore.
I think there's a little question here about choice.
Yeah. It's a third period. This is an odd match, so Kenmore should have had choice in the second. Did they defer? I think they deferred.
So it is Kenmore's choice, and Nas is going to go neutral.
Yep. So I mentioned Kenmore's, their first two league matches were against the second and third ranked teams in large schools. From here on out, we'll get a couple more reasonable, probably more equitable dual meets against some of their other rivals. But right now, in the latest large school rankings, Star Point remains on top after 2 weeks of wrestling, followed by Wheatfield, Niagara Falls, Lancaster number 4, Hamburg Eden at 5. I was impressed watching them last week. Amherst, Frontier, Clarence, Williamsville North, East, and Williamsville actually won that match head-to-head last night. And then Orchard Park sliding in at number 10 with honorable mention teams St. Francis, North Tonawanda, Jamestown, and St. Joe's. So, I mean, what's that? 6 of the 7 ECIC 1 teams are all right there in that ranking. And then for small schools, we looked at Shockwell Lake a little bit earlier in this broadcast. They're number 1 in the small school rankings, followed by Falconer, Cassadaga Valley, and Southwestern. All 3 CCAA 1 teams are going to have an absolute dogfight this year in that division, followed by Newfane, Pioneer at 5, Wilson at 6. Wilson, we're going to see them next week. We're going to go take a look at Wilson versus Newfane, which may have big NO title considerations on the line next Wednesday night. And Wilson is followed in the rankings by Randolph, Iroquois, Portville, and then Springville Griffith Institute at number 10. Springville with good numbers. Coach Vogel doing a good job down there. them in Lakeshore had a really nice battle in ECIC3. Pioneer won the league title again there last year, but it was good to see a good competitive match between Coach Vogel's Griffins and Coach Sills' Eagles.
Yeah, definitely, and good for Mike Carlo and Wilson, man. Those guys
Absolutely.
have been working hard, and they've built something there that they can be proud of. And I mean, they're right in the mix there to be. They're ranked obviously in the top 10 in the small schools, and they're gonna give Newfane a run for their money next week. I'm sure it's something they're looking forward to, and like I say, good for them, man. Mike Carlo, one of the good guys in our sport.
Yep, absolutely. Have had some lean years in the program's history, but it's paying off right now. He's got 5 returning sectional place winners.
Getting a little chippy out here. Referee Don Chatton's going to bring both boys into the center and talk to them for a minute here about keeping their cool.
Right, only 26 seconds left in this entire dual meet. You don't need to get anything out of control, and I apologize. Wilson has 4 returning sectional place winners, but a really nice heavyweight crew. From 172 right up to 285, 160.
Hamza, right?
Hamza,
Yep.
Brecken Schultz, Ben Worketer, Jacob Stevenson. So, all right, 20 seconds left in this match, though. Ian Peterson up 5-0, returning Section 6 champ. Nas Motley's wrestling tough, though, giving up a bunch of penalty points. He's got 2 illegal moves and then that one stalling. But other than that, I mean, it's really only been the reversal, I think, from Peterson. So, but either way, that'll end the match for a Peterson decision, 5-0. So it'll be a final score of 51-18 in favor of Niagara Falls. It doesn't look like they'll wrestle any JV matches here. So I appreciate everybody tuning in to WY Athletics. Coach, any last thoughts here? We'll get you on some more live stream. This was fun, and I'm glad you could make it out. But any thoughts here on through 2 full weeks of the season? The outlook for the league, what you saw from Niagara Falls tonight. Maybe look ahead at what Kenmore's got coming up, and then what Niagara Falls has got to do to live up to what their own expectations are and what their goals are for this year.
Well, I mean, what you see, I think, in the NFL is you see obviously the cream there is Niagara Falls and Niagara Wheatfield, and that's typical of a lot of years. And then you see some teams that are scrapping and clawing and working hard to try to build something there. And you've got schools like, Dave Wilcox here at Kenmore and Bill Morello in Lockport and Coach Fire in North Tonawanda and schools like that are working hard to try to build something here and make themselves competitive. This weekend is a huge weekend in Section 6 wrestling with the Linda Canoodla Memorial. You have, pretty much it's a who's who of schools from Western New York. So stop on out, support that tournament, support Section 6 wrestling, support our kids.
Yep, absolutely. I'll be making a post, actually. There's for the entrance fees for that tournament, there's a special arrangement for if you bring some perishable foods, you get a special rate to get into the tournament. I'm going to post something about that a little later on. And also a very important 50-50 raffle to celebrate or to support the Sunshine Fund, which Coach Eric Canoodla, Section Western New York legend and upstate New York chapter of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame member, is a big supporter of. So come out and see a bunch of that. Let's look ahead here at Niagara Falls. Their next match will be a home duel versus Grand Island. That's after going to Niagara this weekend. And then you will have, and for Kenmore, they will be at the Niagara County Community College this weekend. And then a home duel versus Lockport. So that one should be an important date for the Devil Dogs here at the Circle. I'm sure that Coach Morello will get his guys ready and get those bodies together. That might be a pretty close duel, I think, between 2 equally competitive, talent-wise teams.
Yeah, and
I know
for a guy like me, you look forward to seeing a couple of your old guys getting together and locking horns.
Right. So, okay. Don't forget, next week we will have our live stream crew at Newfane High School. We're going to go to the Great White North, and we're going to check out a big NO duel. Maybe could be Newfane's biggest threat to their championship streak. They're at 40. Going into tonight, I think they wrestled tonight. I'm not sure who they wrestled, but going into tonight, 40-0 in the last 8 years in the NO, with 8 straight wins or 8 straight league titles. Falls also here. We saw win tonight. Haven't lost a league match since 2019, I think, at this point.
Yeah, they've been on a pretty good run.
Pretty good run. So 7-0 in the league last year, 7-0 2 years ago, 10-0 in that weird COVID year in the Super League. Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll look forward to this weekend. We'll look forward to some of the heavy hitters from Falls making some noise. I really want to see what Sawyer Dickinson does from Kenmore, but tonight you got a 51-18 Niagara Falls win in the Niagara Frontier League. And for WY Athletics, I'll sign off with Matt O'Rourke and Frank Wolf and Francis Beck and Coach Joe Scapoletti. So appreciate everybody for tuning in. Thank you.
Life can be full of surprises, but not always the good kind. That's why we're committed to providing safe, quick, and cost-effective care, and we keep it simple. Just walk in. We're here for you. Learn more today.
With exclusive buyer insights and our 100% money-back guarantee, we're confident we'll find buyers for your home. Howard Hanna. Home happens here.